The GPS tracker on my wife's Mercedes showed her parked outside a luxury condo complex at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday night. She'd told me she was working late on the Morrison Industries tax audit. Morrison Industries, the company that closed their books every day at 5 p.m. sharp. I stared at the tracking app on my phone, sitting in my work truck outside our house in Eugene. The little blue dot hadn't moved for 2 hours. Rebecca's car was 45 minutes away in downtown Portland at an address I'd never heard her mention. My name's Tom Patterson. I'm 48, been running Patterson Electric for 12 years. I wire office buildings, fix broken circuits, keep the lights on for people who need them. Honest work that pays the bills and lets me sleep at night. Or used to, anyway. I'd installed that GPS system myself 2 years ago for the insurance discount. Rebecca's idea. She's always been big on financial efficiency. Partner at Walsh, Morrison & Associates, specializes in corporate tax law, makes 3 times what I do. She handles numbers, I handle electricity. It worked for 15 years, until it didn't. The changes started about 4 months ago. Rebecca began scheduling client dinners that ran past 9 p.m., weekend work sessions, emergency meetings that came up right after dinner. She'd always been dedicated to her career, but this felt different, more secretive, more critical of everything I did. Tom, can you not leave your boots right by the door? It looks unprofessional when clients call. Clients never came to our house. They met at her firm's downtown office or fancy restaurants I couldn't afford. The expensive perfume for networking events was another red flag. Rebecca owned 2 bottles of perfume, one for special occasions, one for every day. Suddenly she had a 3rd bottle, something that smelled like it cost more than my monthly truck payment. Then came the phone calls that made her walk into another room, the locked bathroom door when she used to leave it open. The way she'd angle her laptop screen away from me when I walked through the living room. I'm not a suspicious guy by nature. I trust people until they give me a reason not to. But after 15 years of marriage, you know your partner's rhythms. Rebecca's rhythms had changed completely. The breaking point was our joint checking account. I do the books for Patterson Electric, so I'm good with numbers. I noticed charges that didn't make sense. Ocean Air Seafood Room, $180 on a Wednesday night when Rebecca said she was working late. Vista Spring Cafe, $65 for brunch on a Saturday when she claimed to be at continuing education seminars. Gas purchases at stations across town when her office was 10 minutes from our house. When I asked about the charges, she had explanations. Client dinners she had to cover up front. Networking brunches with other attorneys. Driving to meet clients at satellite offices. All reasonable. All believable. All lies, as it turned out. The GPS tracker was my nuclear option. I'd been watching the unusual charges for weeks, trying to convince myself there was an innocent explanation. But that Tuesday night, when Rebecca kissed my cheek and said she'd be home late from the Morrison audit, I decided to check. Morrison Industries was headquartered in Salem, not Portland. I knew because Patterson Electric had bid on their office renovation last year. Didn't get the job, but I remembered the address. So when the GPS showed Rebecca's car 50 miles in the wrong direction, I knew. I sat in my truck for maybe 20 minutes, watching that blue dot on my phone screen. Part of me wanted to drive down there, see for myself what was happening. Part of me already knew and didn't want confirmation. Instead, I went inside and did something I'd never done in 15 years of marriage. I looked through Rebecca's things. Her home office was usually off limits. She kept client files there, confidential stuff that required privacy. But she'd left her laptop open on the desk, plugged in and charging. The screen was dark, but when I touched the trackpad, it lit up. Rebecca's calendar was open. And there it was, the appointment that explained everything. Private dinner with B, 8:30 p.m., Ocean Air. B, not Morrison Industries, not a client meeting, just B. I scrolled through the calendar, my hands shaking slightly. More appointments with B, weekend trips to Bend and Cannon Beach, wine tasting with B, B's place, 7 p.m. 4 months of appointments that lined up perfectly with all those mysterious charges on our checking account. I heard Rebecca's car in the driveway and quickly closed the laptop. When she came through the front door at 12:30 a.m., I was sitting on the couch watching late-night TV, acting like nothing had changed. "How was the Morrison audit?" I asked. "Exhausting. Those corporate books are a mess. Took forever to sort through everything." She kicked off her heels and headed toward the bedroom. I noticed her lipstick was gone and her hair looked different. Not messy, just Rearranged. I'm going to shower and get some sleep, she said. Big day tomorrow. I nodded and kept watching TV. Some old movie about a guy who thought he knew his wife until he discovered he didn't know her at all. The irony wasn't lost on me. After Rebecca went to bed, I sat in the dark living room for another hour, thinking. 15 years of marriage. A business partnership we'd started together. A life we'd built from nothing. And now this. I could confront her immediately, demand explanations, hope for some innocent reason why she was having private dinners with someone called B. But I'm an electrician. I know that when you find one bad wire, you check the whole system before you start making repairs. So I decided to check the whole system. The next morning, Rebecca left for work at 7:30 a.m. like always. Black coffee, quick kiss on the cheek, promised to call if she'd be late. The routine hadn't changed, just everything underneath it. I waited 30 minutes, then went back to her home office. Her laptop required a password now. She'd changed it overnight. Smart move, but too late. I already had what I needed from the calendar, and I knew where to look for more. The home computer in our spare bedroom was different. We both used it for personal stuff, online banking, email, shopping. Rebecca wasn't as careful with security there because she didn't keep client files on it. Her browser history told a story. Private browsing most of the time, but she'd forgotten to use it a few times. Searches for restaurants in Portland. A luxury hotel website in Bend, something called Vista Spring Cafe that showed up 6 times over the past 2 months. Then I hit the jackpot. Gmail was still logged in, but not her main account. This was something I'd never seen before. Rebecca Thompson. Walsh427@gmail.com. Her maiden name plus some numbers. The inbox was full of messages from Brandon Steele. I sat there staring at that name for a long minute. Brandon Steele, investment banker at Morrison Financial Group, the same Morrison that Rebecca claimed to be auditing. The audit was real, but it wasn't keeping her busy until midnight. The subject lines made my stomach turn. Missing you already, can't wait for this weekend. About our conversation last night, you looked incredible today. I opened the most recent one, just one. That was all I could handle. Rebecca, last night was perfect. I know this situation is complicated, but I can't stop thinking about our future together. When you're ready to make the transition, I'll be here. We can figure out the timeline once you sort things out with Tom. The consulting business has real potential if we combine it with my client network. Think about it. B. Our future together. The consulting business. Sort things out with Tom. They weren't just having an affair, they were planning my exit. I printed everything. Every email, every browser history entry, every GPS location from the past 4 months. Took me 2 hours to organize it all into a timeline that would make sense to someone else, because I was going to need someone else to see this. That evening, Rebecca came home at 6 p.m. with Chinese takeout and an explanation about finishing the Morrison audit early. We ate dinner and watched the news like nothing had changed. She asked about my day. I told her about a commercial wiring job on Highway 99. Normal conversation between 2 people who'd been married for 15 years. Except now I knew she was planning to leave me for an investment banker who wanted to merge our lives into his business plan. After Rebecca went to bed, I called Bill Stevens. We'd gone to high school together, played football on the same team. He'd become a lawyer, I'd become an electrician. Different paths, but we still grabbed beers every few months and complained about our lives. Tom, it's 11 p.m. Everything okay? Bill, I need legal advice. How much do you charge for marriage stuff? Long pause. What kind of marriage stuff? The kind where my wife is planning to divorce me and take half my business. Jesus. You want to come in tomorrow morning? Yeah. And Bill? I'm going to bring some paperwork you'll want to see. The next morning, I sat in Bill's office with my manila folder and a cup of coffee that tasted like it had been sitting on the burner since 1995. His office was nothing fancy. Wood paneling from the 1980s, law books that looked like they'd actually been read, a diploma from University of Oregon Law School hanging slightly crooked behind his desk. Bill flipped through my evidence package without saying much. GPS printouts, email screenshots, credit card statements, timeline notes. I'd organized everything by date and location like a job site report. Tom, how long has this been going on? The affair? About 4 months based on what I found. But I think she's been planning this longer. Planning what, exactly? I pulled out another folder. Remember when Rebecca started her consulting business 5 years ago? She needed startup capital. Right. You gave her money from your dad's property sale, $40,000, in exchange for 25% ownership and a partnership agreement. Bill opened the second folder and found the partnership documents. He read for about 5 minutes, then looked up at me with raised eyebrows. Tom, did you read the morality clause in this agreement? Not really. Rebecca wrote most of it, said it was standard business protection stuff. This isn't standard, this is comprehensive. He pointed to a section highlighted in yellow. If either partner engages in conduct that damages the business reputation or violates professional ethics standards, the other partner can force a buyout at current market value. So your wife is having an affair with a client. She's using company resources to conduct personal business. And she's planning to leave you for someone who wants to merge with her consulting firm. Bill leaned back in his chair. Tom, she wrote her own exit clause and then she violated it. I felt something shift in my chest. Not anger, exactly. More like clarity. What's the business worth now? Bill pulled out a calculator. Based on her client list and annual revenue, probably $300,000, maybe more. 25% of $300,000, $75,000. That was more money than I'd made in any single year running Patterson Electric. What do I need to do? First, we document everything. Second, we get a business valuation. Third, Bill smiled for the first time since I'd walked into his office. Third, we remind your wife that lawyers aren't the only ones who know how to read contracts. That Friday evening, I decided to confront Rebecca. Not with accusations or drama, just facts. I'm an electrician. When something's broken, you fix it or replace it. You don't pretend it's working. I was sitting at the kitchen table when she came home at 9:30 p.m., claiming another late client meeting. She looked surprised to see me there with a manila folder and 2 beers. Tom, what's all this? I slid the folder across to her. Why don't you tell me about Brandon Steele? Her face went through about 5 different expressions in 3 seconds. Confusion, recognition, calculation, defiance, and finally something that looked like relief. You went through my personal communications. You used our joint checking account to pay for your relationship with Brandon. That made it my business. I opened my beer and took a sip. Plus, you're violating your partnership agreement with me. She sat down slowly like the chair might collapse under her. Tom, you have to understand. We've grown apart. You're always working, always tired. Brandon makes me feel alive again. Brandon makes you feel alive. I laughed, but there wasn't any humor in it. How's that going to work when the Oregon State Bar finds out you're sleeping with a client? Her eyes went wide. What are you talking about? Rebecca, you're having an affair with Brandon Steele from Morrison Financial Group. The same Morrison that your firm is auditing. That's a conflict of interest. The State Bar takes that seriously. I watched the color drain from her face as she processed what I'd said. That's not... We keep our personal and professional relationships separate. Do you? Because I've got emails here where you're giving him business advice right alongside planning your next romantic getaway. She stared at the folder like it might explode. What do you want, Tom? I want you to move out, tonight. And if I don't, I picked up another folder from the counter. Then I report you to the State Bar for professional misconduct. And I exercise my rights under our business partnership agreement. I opened the second folder and showed her the highlighted sections. The morality clause she'd insisted on including, the buyout provisions she'd written to protect herself. You own 25% of my consulting business, she said quietly. I own 25% of our consulting business, the one I helped capitalize with $40,000 from my father's estate, the one that's now worth about $300,000 according to my lawyer. Your lawyer? Bill Stevens. Remember him? Played linebacker in high school. He's good at reading contracts, especially ones with morality clauses. Rebecca opened the folder and read the highlighted sections. Her hands were shaking slightly. Tom, let's talk about this. We can work something out. We could have worked something out 4 months ago, before you started your secret email account, before you started planning my exit with your boyfriend. She looked up sharply. You read all of them? I read enough. I stood up and walked to the kitchen counter, keeping my back to her. You want to know what hurt the most? It wasn't the affair. It was finding out you think I'm just an obstacle to your real life. When I turned around, she was crying, not sobbing, just tears running down her cheeks. I never meant for it to happen this way, but it did happen this way, so now we deal with it. She wiped her eyes and straightened up. The lawyer in her was taking over. If I contest this, it could get ugly. It's already ugly, Rebecca. Question is whether you want it to be expensive too. She stared at me for a long minute. How long do I have? Tonight. Take what you need for a week. We'll figure out the rest through lawyers. An hour later, she was loading her suitcase into the Mercedes. She stopped at the front door and turned back to me. Tom, I hope you know this isn't about you not being enough. It's about me needing something different. I understand exactly what this is about, I said. It's about choices. You made yours. After she left, I sat on the front porch with another beer and called Bill Stevens. How'd it go? She's moving out. Didn't contest the partnership claim. Smart woman. Fighting this would have cost her more than settling. The next morning, I drove downtown to Morrison Financial Group's office building. 30 floors of glass and steel in Portland's financial district. I found Brandon Steele's name on the directory. 24th floor, senior investment advisor. I took the elevator up. The receptionist was polite but firm. Mr. Steele is in meetings all morning. Do you have an appointment? Tell him Tom Patterson is here, Rebecca's husband. Her eyes went wide. 1 moment, please. 5 minutes later, Brandon Steele walked out of his corner office. Tall guy, maybe 38, expensive suit, perfect teeth. He looked exactly like what you'd expect from someone who steals other men's wives. Mr. Patterson, I wasn't expecting to meet you. I'll bet. I stood up and extended my hand. He shook it, probably out of reflex. Nice office. Must be doing well for yourself. Listen, I think there might be some misunderstanding about... No misunderstanding. I know exactly what's been going on. I smiled at him. I also know about the state bar investigation that's going to start next week. His face went pale. State bar investigation? Professional misconduct complaint. Conflict of interest violations. Rebecca's firm will probably have to recuse themselves from your company's audit. I watched him process what that meant. A lot of paperwork, a lot of questions, a lot of attention you probably don't want. What do you want? Nothing from you. I just wanted to see the man my wife threw away 15 years of marriage for. I looked around his fancy office. Have to say, I'm not impressed. I walked toward the elevator, then turned back. Oh, and Brandon? When Rebecca calls you crying about her legal troubles, remember that you're part of those troubles. Might want to think about that before you answer the phone. The elevator doors closed on his shocked expression. On the drive home, I felt lighter than I had in months, like I'd been carrying a weight I didn't even realize was there. The state bar moved faster than I expected. Within 2 weeks of Bill filing the complaint, Rebecca was placed on administrative leave pending investigation. Her law firm, Walsh, Morrison & Associates, issued a carefully worded statement about maintaining the highest ethical standards and cooperating fully with regulatory authorities. Rebecca tried calling me 3 times that first week. I didn't answer. Whatever she wanted to say, she could say it through lawyers. Brandon Steele proved to be exactly the kind of man I thought he was. The moment Rebecca's name appeared in legal trouble, he disappeared. No more romantic dinners, no more weekend getaways, no more talk about their future together. His investment firm quietly dropped Morrison Financial Group as a client to avoid any appearance of impropriety. Word travels fast in professional circles. By the end of the month, everyone in Eugene's business community knew what had happened. The response surprised me. I was having coffee at Millie's Diner on a Saturday morning when Jake Morrison, no relation to the company, slid into the booth across from me. Jake runs the biggest construction outfit in Lane County. Tom, heard about your situation. Sorry, man. Thanks. But I got to say, good for you for fighting back. That woman always acted like she was too good for the rest of us. He stirred his coffee. Been meaning to ask, you interested in bidding on the new Walmart expansion? Need someone who knows commercial electrical. That was the first of many conversations. Over the next 2 months, I got calls for 6 major commercial projects: the Springfield School District renovation, a new medical center in Cottage Grove, 2 office buildings downtown. Work I'd never been considered for before because I was just a small local contractor. Turns out a lot of people had opinions about Rebecca's attitude over the years. Her dismissive comments at Chamber of Commerce meetings, the way she talked down to blue-collar business owners, how she'd made it clear that she considered herself above the local community. People remembered, and when she fell, they rallied around me. The State Bar investigation took 4 months. Rebecca hired an expensive attorney from Seattle, a specialist in professional ethics cases who charged $800 an hour. But you can't fix facts with expensive lawyers. The bar found that Rebecca had violated multiple professional conduct rules: conflict of interest, failure to disclose personal relationships affecting professional judgment, and misuse of client confidences. They suspended her license for 12 months and required 40 hours of ethics training before reinstatement. Walsh, Morrison & Associates made the suspension permanent. Mutual agreement to part ways was how they announced it in the legal journal. The business valuation came in at $320,000, higher than Bill's estimate. Rebecca's consulting firm had grown faster than expected, partly because of the Morrison Financial Group contract that she'd now lost. 25% of $320,000 was $80,000. More money than I'd ever seen in one check. Rebecca's new lawyer tried to negotiate, offered $50,000 to settle quickly and quietly. Bill laughed and sent back a counteroffer, $80,000 plus all legal fees, or we'd pursue the full value in court. She paid, had to sell her downtown condo to cover the settlement and her legal bills. I used the money to expand Patterson Electric, bought 2 new service trucks, hired 3 apprentices, and rented a bigger shop with proper equipment bays. Within 6 months, I was bidding on projects I'd never dreamed of handling. The community support continued. When word got out that I was expanding, guys I'd known for years started recommending me for bigger jobs. The Veterans Group at the American Legion made me their preferred contractor. The Chamber of Commerce asked me to join their board. For the first time in years, I felt respected. Not tolerated, not dismissed, but genuinely respected for the work I did and the way I did it. I started dating again about a year later. Nothing serious at first: coffee with Linda Brennan, who runs an accounting firm on Willamette Street. Dinner with Sarah Williams, a nurse at Sacred Heart Medical Center. Good women who appreciated honest conversation and didn't need me to be something I wasn't. Linda and I clicked. She understood small business challenges, knew the value of reliable work, and didn't play games. We've been together 8 months now, and it feels easy in a way my marriage to Rebecca never did. Last month, I saw Rebecca at the Fred Meyer grocery store. She was working as a staff attorney at some small firm near the university, making probably half what she used to earn. She looked up when she saw me, nodded once, and kept walking. I felt nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, no regret. Just nothing. That evening, Linda and I sat on my back deck watching the sunset over the Coast Range. I had a beer, she had a glass of wine from a bottle that cost $12 instead of $120. "You seem content," she said. "I am. And I meant it. At 48, I've learned that respect isn't something you can demand or manipulate or buy with expensive lawyers. You earn it by being consistent, honest, and reliable." Rebecca lost sight of that somewhere along the way. But I never did. The business is doing better than ever. Last week, Patterson Electric landed the contract to wire the new county courthouse, the biggest job we've ever taken. When I told Linda about it, she smiled and said she was proud of me. Proud of me. Rebecca never said that. Not once in 15 years. Sometimes the best revenge is just living well and staying true to who you are. Rebecca forgot who she was somewhere along the way and tried to become someone else. I never forgot, and that made all the difference.